Heyo everybody, Haku here, bringing back the Haku of anime reviews. At least I think that was what I called this, but I haven't done one of these in a long time. But I've been wanting to do a bit more of these full series reviews, and this one's going to be for Kemono Friends. So the way I want to try to set this one up and organize it is first I'm just going to talk through my experience with the show, discuss what I was thinking going through it episode by episode. Then I'll talk about the characters. I always like to talk about the characters when I do a full series review, and there are so many different characters and so many that I really liked that even if I keep it pretty brief, that's probably going to be a sort of large portion of the video. And in general, this to warn people, then I'm going to, after that, going to give my thoughts, just in some general thoughts on the show as a whole, and then I'll give a score and end it off. But just letting you know, for what you should expect during the video, this is pretty much all going to just be my thoughts and opinions and what I thought of the show, just in general, I guess. So starting off, things I thought about the show as I was going through it. I thought at first, when I first was looking through anime to watch and maybe cover on the channel for the winter season, I saw the premise, the basic description, and I was like, okay, that sounds pretty interesting. I watched the promo video, and I was like, okay, not too sure about this. I really don't. I hate 3D CG animation. I really do. It's just a personal thing that I really dislike. I think the show definitely overcame it, so don't worry, I'm not going to spend too much time talking about that, because, I mean, we all know it was low quality animation, it was low budget animation. Who cares if the story can overcome that? So then when it first came out, I always like to look at the openings for shows, and I was like, oh, it's going to be a bad 3D CG sort of style. Let's see what the opening looks like. And I was like, okay, this song's really catchy, I'll admit that. But I was like, even though the song is super catchy, it's like, man, this animation's depressingly bad, because I feel that way a lot, where I'm like, somebody had to put some work into this, and then for them to put their work in, for it to just end up coming out like this, I feel pretty bad for them. But of course now I don't, now that I know how well it turned out and how everyone really loved the work they put in and how much I love and respect the work they put in. Then after a few weeks of watching other shows that season, I just kept seeing more than any show. Maid Dragon did have a lot of just memes and fan art and stuff that I was seeing, and I loved Maid Dragon. I thought it was the anime of the season. This is maybe a second place behind Maid Dragon for the season for me. And I watched like 9 or 10 shows last season. I think it was 9. And this is a second place for me. But I was seeing constant memes, constant fan art all over Twitter and all the other places I just go around on the internet. So I was like, okay, this is something I really need to see what the deal is about. Because it was just getting so much attention, so much more attention than all these other shows. So I gave it a chance. In episode 1, I was like, okay, this is a kind of okay story. But I feel like in episode 1 I couldn't appreciate it because I was still so distracted with the 3D animation that not only was it low budget, but again, I also personally don't like 3D animation very much. So I was like, okay, it's an okay story, but I was just too distracted to appreciate it. And then episode 2 happened, and I absolutely loved it. I think I could even say that I was hooked from episode 2, because episode 2 I was like, you know, the characters are really good, and just the basics of storytelling. One of the first things I noticed within the first few minutes of episode 2, it just dawned on me. I was like, oh, I like how Serval's reacting to this stuff. And then I was like, hold on a second. I was like, Kaban is this new character to this world, and we're seeing it from her perspective, for somebody that's never seen this world, what it's like to travel through it. But we're also seeing from Serval's perspective, which is something so many series do. Any alternate world kind of series or person in another place kind of series, they always have the character pairing where one character, usually the protagonist, or the main protagonist, is just this character that's new to the place or the world or whatever, and they're learning about it, traveling through it, changing it, all of that. And they usually have a second character with them that serves as their sidekick, their secondary protagonist, whatever you would like to call them. And Serval served that role quite well here. Sorry, this hair getting in my face. But yeah, I thought that it was brilliant. I was like, okay, how in the world did they get this good storytelling element done right on accident? I was confused. I was like, the characters and the basics of storytelling are there. They're good. And I was like, how were they able to make something so strong, but they couldn't put that much time into animation? And of course, I didn't know at that time how low budget it was, that it was made by only like 10 people, only 5 of which were actually animators. So, I mean, I think I really started to appreciate it there because I was like, there was this feeling I had where I was like, I can't tell if it's great on purpose or if it's accidentally getting things right. And I think that feeling going through the rest of the episodes carried on and was a big part of why I like the series. So yeah, it all started at episode 2 for me. Episode 3 came around and I loved it even more as a show. I think they did really well at hinting at how human society had fallen, but keeping that in the background and not really putting much focus on it. Then episode 4 came around. Tsuchinoko was awesome, one of my favorite characters. And I loved how deep the mystery got in the background, but with the exhibit and everything, it was incredible how they fleshed that out in the background without having it directly be part of the main plot yet. I just thought that was so great. And then at that point is when I started thinking how, the story was going really, really well. I think episode 4 is when I'm like, I think this is going to be a great show. I see what everybody sees in it, how there's this post-apocalyptic story in the background that it's just not focusing on, and the characters every episode thus far had been so enjoyable and had such variety that every episode was exciting because you're like, okay, I don't know what animal I'm going to see show up as a friend. And I thought just that aspect was interesting as well, and that carried on throughout the rest of the show. So then going into episode 5, I thought it did great for showing Kaban's ingenuity and developing her as a character and giving just this human character something that made her stand out and be special to we viewers that are human. I thought that was something it needed and something it did well early on. Episode 6 for me was possibly my favorite episode. I heard actually that some people didn't like this episode, and I don't get why. It was probably my favorite one. I just loved the story between Lion and Moose's factions. That entire setup with 2 different factions warring or whatever and playing this game they had, I thought that it was great. Probably my favorite episode. Episode 7 was next, where we get more info on the park and humanity's fall and everything, and we get the introduction, of course, of the professor and her assistant that are pretty cute. We had the cooking that was funny, and really they ended up being fan favorites, and from what I've heard, this is kind of a fan favorite episode as well. Episode 8, everybody loves Peppa Poo. Peppa Poo was great, and I really liked the episode. It really didn't do much for the overall story, but was pretty enjoyable. I loved it. Episode 9, I was fully hooked by that point, and it had a great feel of adventure. Also, the 2 Fox characters were really awesome. Episode 10, the focus on how it was kind of a mystery was something that was fresh and new and really enjoyable. And also we got our first big info dump, our first real big info for Mirai, which I thought was great. And another thing that I thought was probably the best thing about this episode is, of course, we got 3 new characters that I felt all 3 of them had good development, but we got development for Kaban and Serval. I thought we had more development for them that episode than we had in most episodes beforehand, and it really, really added a lot more to the show. Episode 11, of course, we get to meet the Cerulean Hunters, which I thought were great. They were some of my favorite characters. We got to see Fennec and Raccoon that we had been seeing a little bit every episode. We finally got to see them catch up with Serval and Kaban. Then we left on that amazing cliffhanger that really signaled this dark stuff that had been going on in the background starting to mix with the foreground, and just having the mystery of humanity's fall become part of the main story. Then, of course, after that, episode 12, at the very end, I just thought it was completely brilliant. I thought this low-budget made CG show really made me feel more emotion than 95% of the shows I had seen just beforehand in general. I thought it was really, really well done. Like, it's something I can't even put my finger on and explain, which is something I'd said about the series beforehand. I was like, eventually I want to discuss slash review the series as a whole, but I don't know how I'm going to do it because it's so weird to talk about when you think the production quality was technically so low, but then it's so enjoyable. It's just very, very enjoyable. So now, next up, let's talk about some characters a bit. I'll go by area to make things easier. I love all the characters, though, even the ones we didn't get to see very much. I think the fandom did well at really filling that out more and adding more into that. But let's just start off with some of the general characters. Kaban, I thought, was a great protagonist. I loved her. I thought she had really good development, and I love seeing this world from her perspective. And apparently she was born from Mirai's hair, so we have just a lot more to learn about her and stuff if they continue on with a movie or with a second season, which I really hope they do. I really hope they can capitalize on the success that they had with this show. Next up, Serval. I thought that Serval was great, really the queen of memes with this series, and just seeing her secondary perspective on everything was again very good. Lucky Beast served mostly as an exposition device, but it was necessary for the plot. Really, I liked Lucky Beast, just it wasn't as cool as seeing a friend, where it was like an animal that we got to see personified, and the personification of the animals was all done very, very well as well. Then next up we got Raccoon and Fennec. During the show I actually found it pretty hard to care about Raccoon and Fennec. I really didn't like them that much. But then after the show, again, with the fandom, with fan art, with memes, it really made me grow a lot more on those two characters. Then for the Savannah, the only one important enough to mention here for me is the Hippo. I like her design and her character and the way they used her character for muscle pretty much. But she wasn't very much seen. The Jungle, we got a lot of small characters that I would have liked to see more of, the biggest of which being Fassa, because Fassa shows up, says something, and then Serval's like, oh man, she seems really strong, and then we pretty much don't see her for the rest of the show, and I thought her mentioning that she was strong right there, that made me think she was going to be very important in the future, so it was kind of shocking to me to not see her at all anymore, essentially. I would also like to see more of the Cobra, the Elephant, Tasmanian Devil, Frilled Lizard. But the sad thing is that if we do get a season 2 or whatever, it's probably going to be mostly about meeting new characters. And other than like a few characters, I don't see very many recurring. Like Raccoon and Fennec could definitely recur in a second season. Tsuchinoko would have a huge place in a second season, so would the professor and her assistant. I feel like some of the more popular characters they would probably throw in just because they're popular. And I also think the Hunters would play a good role in second season if they had it. But other than that, a lot of the characters are kind of more one-offs, and I don't really see them playing a role in a second season, especially if they're traveling somewhere else. But we can always see. Then continuing on with jungle characters, I really like Jaguar. Jaguar was essentially just Busty or Serval. But I do like her, and I wanted a little bit more of her. I like the way that she did have some things that separate her from Serval, even though they had similar designs. Otter as well. Otter was an early favorite character of mine. Otter was thick, fun, and I really enjoyed the part she played in the story, just for the short time she was there. For the cafe, I really liked Crested Ibis? Whatever, Watashi Watoki. Her voice acting, her character, her singing, I really, really liked the Crested Ibis character. Also, she kind of had the Scarlet Ibis clone or whatever that showed up at the end of that episode and recurred in the finale. But Scarlet Ibis, I don't really remember her doing much of anything. Alpaca Suri, then Chadozo. Every time I see a picture of her, that's all I can hear in my head. But yeah, I loved her voice, her design, her personality was really good, and just her part in the story. I really liked just the idea that this character saw a place that was like once a human establishment or whatever and was like, huh, They used to serve coffee here before humanity fell. You know what? I'm gonna do this now. So I really did like Alpaca Suri. Then next up is Sandcat or Sunaneko. I thought she was cute, pretty much, again, kind of fell into the Jaguar hole of being mini Serval because the design was so similar. But again, sadly not much screen time for her. Tsuchinoko, one of my favorite characters and definitely a character that I think has a strong place in a second season if they have it. I love that there was a character who had a place in the story where she was trying to discover the secrets of fallen humanity and all that, and just the way that she showed up and the role she played in, she was episode 4, correct? I think that just the episode with her was so good, and she played such a good role there that she became one of my favorite characters. In the finale, she was great there as well. I also loved the design. She's chubby snack, and the voice acting as well was great. So I want more of her in the future as well. Next up with the lake, we got Beaver and Prairie Dog, which I love the story between them. They were both strong characters individually with their own traits and gimmicks being funny, but I thought they were much stronger as characters when paired together. So yeah, I liked them both separately, like them both together. Then the Prairie, my favorite characters. I really think the characters from the Prairie are my favorites. As for the whole lion versus moose feud, it's hard to say which one is my favorite because which group is my favorite, because I think that Lion was cooler, smarter, and stronger than Moose. But then again, how can you hate Moose's like army? I think she had 5 subordinates. All 5 of them were great. But just talking about these characters one by one. Lion, I loved the laziness as king and how smart and protective she was of her people and her friends. Oryx had one of my favorite character designs, Muscle Cow Waifu. Just her design was really cool and badass looking. Arabian Oryx and Black Bear were good individually and they fill out the rest of Lion's forces. Moose, I thought, served a really good place in the story. The personality design and character, they all work for the role that the character was meant to play. Armadillo and Porcupine, I thought were both very cute, and I think they're underrated as well. I'd like to see a little more attention for them. White Rhino, another one of my favorites, just because one of the best designs, the way she had the armor and the really cool lance and everything. White Rhino was awesome. Really cute and really cool. Shoebill, I think, is my favorite character. I think is kind of a fan favorite character. Yeah, I think the design's genius with the bangs that make her look angry all the time, and the uniform. I just think the character and personality are great. Then Chameleon. Chameleon is the most underrated character in the show. I thought that she was one of the funniest characters in the show. The way that she didn't know to turn invisible or whatever, or the fight she had with Black Bear was really cool as well. So yeah, I really think Chameleon is entirely underrated. I thought it was a great character. Then at the library, we got the white-faced owl, who's the professor, and the eagle owl, who's her assistant. They're both adorable, both fan favorites. I love the cooking gimmick, and the way that they came in, and the finale was great. Both good characters. As for Peppapu, there was Margay, who I really love the character arc that Margay went through, and she definitely has a place in the story. Royal Penguin, or Princess, kind of stereotypical in a way, but I thought she had a good character arc and a pretty alright design. Humboldt and Gento Penguin, they're both cute, but they are a little bit forgettable. I often mix the two of them up. Rockhopper Penguin, I love the design. The voice as well was cool, and the personality. Emperor Penguin probably has the sexiest design in the show. Very cute personality as well. High quality waifu. And actually my current PC desktop background. Then getting into the mountain characters, we have Silver Fox, who was kind of the serious side, also an enjoyable character. The Red Fox character, who is the cute, lazy gamer, and they both really had really cool designs, and I just liked them. I liked the episode they were in. Capybara was barely shown, but I threw her in here just because I think it was a funny enough character to mention, and had a pretty good design. As for the Lodge, 3 characters I really enjoy. Campo Flicker, I tend to always forget Campo Flicker, even though I really like the character. I guess maybe Maybe I forget her because I don't really know much what a Campo Flicker is in real life. But either way, then Grey Wolf, one of my favorite character concepts, the way she was sort of a horror manga writer. At least I believe it was horror manga. But I love the design and personality. The giraffe as well, another great character concept. I really like the design for Giraffe too. Then, lastly, we have the 3 cerulean hunters. First up being the golden snub-nosed monkey that I thought had a super sexy design and awesome personality, and was just overall pretty badass. The only thing is, I kind of wish there was more screen time given for Golden Monkey. Then Brown Bear, most badass design, most badass character probably. Maybe not most badass design, because the design for White Rhino is just so cool. But most badass character, definitely Brown Bear. Served as a great serious character, and had a really nice design as well. African Wild Dog, I love the design. I love how it added some variety with the hunters. I thought that was a great character to throw in, just because we saw these 2 badass fighters, so it was nice to have somebody who's like, you know, maybe we should retreat, we should run away, hit them just when we can. I liked African Wild Dog's character and the role she played in the Hunters a lot. If anything, I'd like to see more of her as well. So yeah, just some thoughts on the series as a whole now. I have so much respect for what they were able to do with 10 people in a budget that small. 10 people not including the voice actresses. But yeah, I have so much respect for what they were able to do there. They took something so little and put so much just heart into it that they were able to make something really, really good. And the fandom came along with memes and fan art and stuff that's really taken the series much further. But yeah, I hope the owners of the franchise can capitalize on this success, because I mean, this is insane success. They had people from like one of the highest selling Japanese artists of all time doing a guitar cover of the solo or of the opening song. They had people like Zoo Visit records going up, or just different stuff like that, that even their views were like way, way higher than even Gintama last season, and Gintama is a ratings machine. So yeah, I hope they can capitalize on that crazy success and make more content. I think for the show as a whole, it was really addictive, and it truly made me feel and care about what was going on. I loved it. The storytelling was very, very good, actually, and the friendly feeling, no pun intended, was really good, especially with this sort of underlying sad underlying undertones. But this underlying sad feeling, I liked that. I liked the way they were able to pull that off. So I'm going to kind of ignore the poor animation, because I feel like, though that's an issue, the story more than makes up for it. More than makes up for it, for me at least. So it went on to be great overall. The ending is one of my favorite ending themes ever, and I loved the opening as well, and the Peppa Poo insert song in that one episode. So yeah, if I were to give it a score, I'd give it a perfect 10 friends out of 10. Perfect score just because I think even though the animation was far from perfect, everything else makes up for it more than enough to where it's something that you can watch, get invested in, get addicted to, and it's just enjoyable. It's just a fun time, really. And that's what a show should be. It should be just fun and enjoyable to watch. So yeah, it's kind of a miracle show. I mean, by all accounts, they really shouldn't have done this well at what they did. With the amount of people and the amount of money they had, this is miraculous that it caught on, that people enjoyed it. Even if it was good, the amount of people that really just bought into this was crazy. I really, really respect it. Also, I think 2 of my favorite things, animals and anime waifus. So combining the 2 of those, I was immediately gonna be hooked. So yeah, I'm really happy to see it succeed, and I really hope they can capitalize on that and make maybe a good second season. Maybe make a movie or something. Well, the game kind of failed and they said they're not bringing it back, but maybe just make a better, improved game. So yeah, I'd like to see more content for Kemono Friends, and I feel like most people would at this point. So either way, those were my thoughts on this show. Just putting them out there for you guys. And I hope you enjoyed the video. So like if you did like the video. Comment down there. Tell me what you all thought of this show, thought of the characters, thought of everything here, my thoughts, everything, more, whatever. Just say whatever you want to say and we can talk about it. Subscribe, I suppose, for a bunch more anime, manga, and everything else. Cover a lot of things, just make videos on whatever, honestly. And I suppose follow on Twitter if you want as well. Try to keep you updated there on stuff for the channel. That is it. Thank you once again for watching, and I'll see you all next time.